Hey everybody, good to see you back once again. It's time that we finish up with the double distributor build. So what we're going to do is start with the points distributor. We will get those parts assembled and then we will move on to the electronic distributor. So no need for further talking. Let's go to the vise. Okay, being that this is a points distributor, we will need to install the power lug that goes through the case wall. So we've got the insulating block and we've got the lead-in stud. So the square part of the stud aligns with the square recess in the block and it all goes through the side of the housing like that. Spin this around so you can get a good view of the outside. Next is the insulating washer. Goes up against the case. Then we have a regular steel flat washer. And finally the nut. Holds it all together. Now we check our work with the ohm meter. Verify continuity through the lug. Yes, very good. Now make sure we're insulated against the case. Block, case, very good. Next up is the new condenser. And the anchor strap is secured by a screw in that hole right over there. So we can place that in. Start the screw. And we can bend the terminal around so that the spade aligns with the power lug. What I'm doing now is applying cam lube to the lobes of the camshaft, and another place you want to apply it is on the lever. Okay, so this area of the lever right here is what rides on the cam lobes themselves, and you just want to get just some put on the leading edge of it like that. And in case you're wondering, this is from Senior's stash of old stuff. It's a Niehoff brand distributor cam lubricant, and you want to have the specified distributor stuff. Okay, it's still available everywhere as well. So another thing to look for before you put the points together, you want to make sure your contacts are coming together nice and square. All right, you don't want to have them cocked so that just one edge is touching. You also want to make sure they're rather centered up with each other, and this set looks pretty good. So what we do is the pivot portion here goes on that peg, and we have to wrap the spring around. The spring is also the electrical contact. Let's get this let's get that condenser lead back out of there. It's going to make life a little bit easier for us here. That around. Okay, that goes on the lead-in terminal. Center it up over the eccentric screw. You can throw this lead back behind it again. There we are. And the reason why you wanted to put that cam lubricant just on the leading edge of that is because the distributor rotates in this direction. So as that arm stop begins to wear, having the cam lube on the front side of it will allow it to be pulled in continually, keep that wear rate down, keeps everything lubricated as well. And now we can tighten the nut for the points and condenser contacts. All right, and there's a small flat washer under this nut as well. Helps to use very small ignition wrenches that are meant to get into areas like this. Okay. Good. Now we can start the anchor screw for the points plate. We do not tighten it at this time. We just get it started, run it down close. So now we'll set the points gap. So watch the arm right here. As I spin the shaft, see the cam opens the points and then it rides off the lobe and they close. Open, close, over and over again. So you set that opening with this eccentric screw. You see how that moves the whole bottom plate? Pretty simple setup. So what you want to do, get your lever arm on one of the lobes, and they want a 20 thousandths gap between your breaker points. Close it up, close it up. Okay, we're close right there. Cinch the plate a little bit. There, I like that drag. Tighten it in, one more check. Still good. So what I'll do is I'll roll it, let them close, now we'll open it again. Check is good, close, open again. Check is good. Yep, happy with our contacts right there. So everything still looks nice and square point. Pads are making good contact with one another. Like it. Now we can seal it up. So the first piece is the dust plate. It has a felt seal in the center. You can still buy these new. This is a new one. But here's a tip for you. When you get these new, this felt seal is an awfully tight fit on the shaft. So what I do, here's the cover for the other distributor. Lubricate that with the same oil as you used on the rest of the distributor, and then I pre-size them just by putting this socket through the center. The socket is a little bit larger around than the shaft here, and what that does, it compresses that felt ring so that it is not so tight as to override your centrifugal advance weights. All right, if you just throw these things on without any oil on the felt and without sizing it first, your centrifugal advance is probably not going to work. So we got the notch right here, corresponds with that tall leg bracket. That's what locates that. There is a new rubber seal on the bottom of these two. Make sure that's in place. And then next we've got the rotor. Align the tab in there with the slot on the top of the cam. Very good. And then the new cap, and there'll be a peg, yeah, right here that you align, yep, with a slot back there. All right, clip it on. And we've got it sealed up. And now we have the electronic conversion distributor. So obviously if we were starting from scratch here, you have to remove the cap, the rotor, the dust plate, the points, the condenser, and the lead-in stud that goes through the hole in the side right there. You don't need that anymore. And this kit is incredibly simple compared to all the setting up of the points. All right, so we've got the pickup plate right here. This hole goes around the old points pivot pin. This hole goes around the eccentric screw, and the small hole utilizes the hold down screw for the old set of points. All right, so you just place that over everything, and what you want to do is turn the eccentric screw until the hole in the plate lines up with the threaded hole for the old points screw. Push down on it, locate it, there we are, and then you secure it with the old screw from the points. At least that's what the instructions say. So that's the old points screw. I prefer to use the old condenser clamp screw because the threads are just a little bit longer, and this plate is thicker than the old points plate. You just get better thread engagement using that one. Good and solid. All right, so next up is the magnet sleeve. All right, and it's exactly what it's called. It's a sleeve. It goes down over the points cam, and there are 4 magnets in it corresponding with the 4 lobes of the cam. And you can see we've got kind of a square cut profile on the inside so that it fits down over the cam. So we start it. It's going to be a rather tight fit too, and you want it to be. So line up those corners, all right, and give it a good push. There, and you should be just about down flush with the top of the pickup. And as the distributor rotates, each one of those magnets passes by the pickup, and the pickup senses the magnetic field, knows that there's a lobe right there, and then tells the coil to fire. Okay, very simple. There is no air gap adjustment that has to be done right here, like with points, manual contacts, anything like that. No cam lube needed, no other maintenance or adjustments required. It's just that simple. Now we take the grommet that is included with the kit, slide it up the wires, and we will route the wires through the hole in the side of the case where that terminal lug used to be. Then we can carefully pull that grommet through just enough to seat. There we are. Looks good all around. Check our wire length. Pull just a little bit more out of there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Leave it just like that. And the rest of the distributor assembles the same as the original points setup. Dust plate goes on, then the rotor, and finish off with the cap. And we've got the assembled unit. Yep, straight from the tap. The good stuff. I'm trying some of the 00 semi-fluid track roller grease that I use in my Caterpillar track rollers in the gearboxes here. You don't need a lot, just enough that the gear starts picking it up. Now for mocking up, we'll put the electronic distributor drive onto the engine here. We've got the engine set to #1 top dead cylinder right now. I always throw a gasket under these distributors because the grease from here can seep out. So we'll pop the cap one more time and decide which port we want to be #1. I'm going to orient the rotor about like that because personally I just like this one to be #1. So we go 1, 3, 4, 2. You know, you can do it however you want, really. These distributors don't care which port #1 happens to be. They just need everything to happen in the correct order. That will get us close. Close enough to make spark plug wires anyhow. Popping the hold down clamps on keeps it from moving. A few times in the comment section I've read, I don't know why you left those spark plug holes open in that engine. I didn't. The plugs have been in the whole time. But once you paint them, it just looks like there's nothing in there from a distance. Perfect segue into spark plugs now. Factory spec for an H is 25 thousandths gap, but the Pertronics kit dictates you go 5 thousandths over stock settings, so we're all at 30 thousandths new plugs. And this is the one thing that surprisingly all internet forums seem to be in agreement about. The Autolite 3116s are the chosen spark plug for Farmall H's and M's. Spark plug wires are up next. I prefer the cut to length ones. You put your own ends on them. And if you're running the electronic ignition, you have to upgrade to the suppression cable style wires. All the magnetos and most of the old distributors have the solid core plug wire. You cannot use solid core wires with the electronic ignition. And in case you've never made your own plug wires before, it's pretty easy. So we're starting with cylinder #1. I've already decided that's going to be the #1 port. And we want to keep things out of the way of the generator, which will be up here. So route it down behind. And we decide on a good length. Okay, I like that. So cut the excess. Slide the boot on. And then trim the insulation back. That. Fold the internal wire portion back and then place the crimp end over the top of it so that it makes good contact. Crimp the legs down so that it's tight. Make sure it wants to stay on. And push it into the cap until it seats. Boot down and repeat. And if there was any confusion about firing order, they cast it right into the block, which is pretty standard. 1, 3, 4, 2. This is 1. We know we have a clockwise rotation distributor, so that means 3, 4, and 2. 3, 4, 2, And while I was at it, I made a coil wire for the yet to be installed coil. And finally, we've got the distributor part of this project done. The double distributor build, actually. I'm going to leave this on the tractor because it's going to have to stay in place for when I convert the wiring over to suit the electronic ignition. We've got the spare points distributor at the ready, threw the coil on there, hooked the wire up to the points contact lug. So anytime we need that, we've got one ready to go. So this is the final big hurdle for the Farmall H, the wiring, okay? We'll redo all of this starting next time. Thank you for watching, everyone. Glad to be through with the distributor portion of this. It ended up being a little bit longer than I had planned, but I think we covered a lot of good points. So thank you for watching, and hope to see you all back again.